So just a few moments ago, Apple held its annual WWDC event, the WWDC24, and they announced a few new features to the Apple Watch in the form of Apple WatchOS 11. And in this video today, I just want to run through my notes on this event and talk about what's new and what's coming to your Apple Watch in the very near future. There's a lot of stuff here, some pretty minor, but some pretty interesting, and they didn't talk a whole lot about some of the features I thought would be the most exciting. They left it pretty vague, so we'll have to wait and see what they're all about when the beta rolls out. With that, let's dive into the first thing that is coming in WatchOS 11, and this is a big one. The Apple Watch is finally getting a form of training load. Now, if you're unaware, if you've never watched my videos before, every time I make a comparison video from like a Garmin watch to an Apple Watch, I always mention the fact that Apple has always omitted proper training tools in the form of training load or training status, and now it's finally coming in Apple WatchOS 11. The training load feature actually does look pretty nice, of course, in true Apple fashion. It looks very polished, the animations and graphics all look pretty slick, and right on the watch itself, you can view your 7-day training load right on a little graph on the screen of the watch, and of course, you can open up a bigger version of that on the phone and view your training load in more detail. Another new metric being added to your activities is going to be an effort rating. This is pretty interesting because a lot of the competition out there, whether that be Garmin or Coros or Suunto or whoever, they typically have a metric called perceived effort. And that is when you finish an activity, you can dial in whether that activity was extremely hard or 10 on a 1 to 10 scale or very easy in a 1 on a 1 to 10 scale. Apple has gone a step further with this, and it's not just a manual perceived effort. In the implementation on Apple Watch OS 11, it will automatically generate this effort rating. And this again will be a 1 to 10 scale. So the watch itself will collect your heart rate data, and it will gauge how hard that workout was, and then it will spit out that effort rating at the end of your activity. If you're unhappy with that rating and you think maybe it was a little bit harder than the watch has estimated, you can manually tweak that effort rating to your own perceived effort, which I think is pretty cool. Another interesting feature here is that effort rating is also tied into your training load. So having a high effort rating will increase your training load, and that will change the graph in your history as well. So it all kind of ties together and works together, which again is pretty nice to see, and it's good to see Apple taking these features a lot more seriously. Now, jumping back to training load for a second, that training load feature will also generate a training status, although they didn't call it that. This will tell you if you're well above average, if you're overreaching, or if you're below average and your training is not going to have an impact on your fitness level. So it tries to give you an estimated idea, a quick summary on what your training's doing for your current fitness level. So that is training load, and I gotta say, I'm really excited about this feature, and I'm looking forward to testing it out and comparing it to some other devices that I've been using for a while now. Next up, in the activity app on your phone, there is now a customizable summary page. So you can actually move around the widgets of the summary page within the activity app, which again is a nice feature, just some added customization. And on top of that, they've also added a new widget for weekly mileage, which personally myself, I am very happy about. On my Garmin, I typically have my weekly mileage like front and center. So it's really cool to see that Apple has added that as well. I can only hope they make that a complication on the watch, but I'm not sure if that will exist at the time of it rolling out. Another new feature in the activity app on your phone is going to be the ability to pause your rings. If you own an Apple Watch, you know what your rings are. They are your daily movement, your daily calorie burn, your activity levels, and everyone's goal is to close up those rings, and it's a pretty healthy habit. It's kind of a fun game to play with yourself. However, if you are injured or you are sick, it's really kind of depressing to see your rings not get closed just because you physically are unable to do that. Well, now in the new activity app, you'll be able to pause your rings, and this will just pause them, put them on hold for when you're recovered, and you can get back to moving on a daily basis, which I think will be good for everyone's morale. Moving right along is a brand new app that will be on your phone and on your watch called the Vitals app. And the goal of the Vitals app is basically, as the name implies, to keep track of your daily vitals. That's going to be your skin temperature and your heart rate throughout the day and your respiratory rate. And if there's any red flags in any of your vitals, it will actually send you an alert to your phone to maybe go get checked out. And it will actually highlight that vital or that metric to let you know what's going on and how you could possibly fix it. This does look pretty interesting, and it actually does look like it has potential to compete with something like a Whoop Band or an Oura Ring, with that kind of being aware of what's going on with your body and your metrics. The only thing it's missing there is like some sort of recovery score or, just general wellness information, but it does look really interesting. And again, I'm looking forward to trying out the Vitals app as well. The next new feature on Apple WatchOS 11 is going to be an enhanced Smart Stack. They've added a few new widgets to the Smart Stack that seem pretty useful. First up, there is a new precipitation widget that will let you know in real time when rain is occurring, when the rain will end. That's pretty handy to have. I use an app called My Radar on my phone for that right now, but it'd be pretty cool to have that on my watch as well. On top of that, there's also a new widget for a live translate function in the Smart Stack. So you can simply pull up your Smart Stack, tap on translate, start speaking, and it will translate that into another language, which I think would be really useful, especially if you're traveling or something like that. And finally, they've added new live widgets to the Smart Stack, and these live widgets can show you things like when your Uber will arrive, if your plane is running late and delayed. And on the topic of general user interface enhancements, they've also updated the custom watch face in Apple WatchOS 11. You've always been able to use a custom watch face by adding a photo to your watch face, but now there's going to be a machine learning AI algorithm or something that will actually enhance your photo and frame it correctly to be most efficiently used as a watch face. This actually looks really cool. In some of the examples they showed, it showed like the text of the time of day being hidden behind a mountain or like a guy jumping out in front of the text. It looked pretty cool, and I'm really interested to try that out as well. And then they got into some more nuanced things like under the hood, things that most people probably don't care about, but they did announce that they now have a double tap API. So if you're aware, when the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the Apple Watch Series 9 came out, a feature called double tap was launched with those watches where you can simply tap your fingers together to interact with your watch. I'm really interested to see what third-party developers do with double tap, because it really doesn't do like a whole lot within the user interface, but it would be cool to see third-party developers tie this into more interesting things. In the demo they showed during the keynote, it was just a woman like rocking her baby to sleep, and she used double tap to start a sleep timer on her watch so she could know how long her baby was sleeping for, which I guess is a good implementation. So you don't have to like reach over and tap your watch. You can simply tap your fingers together, baby stays asleep, everyone's happy. And now we get into some of the more interesting features that Apple didn't even talk about during the keynote. They briefly mentioned these things, and I was very frustrated because I want to know a whole lot more about them. So during the last few seconds of the segment about Apple WatchOS 11, they were talking about a new feature when it comes to mapping and navigation. So in just a couple of seconds, they announced that there's going to be distance and route support for maps in workouts on your Apple Watch. And this was just like a tiny little graphic in the corner of the screen during the keynote. I need to know a whole lot more about this. I have a lot of questions. Does this mean we're finally gonna get a map inside the workout app? I would be really happy about that. If you're not an Apple Watch user and you come from Garmin or something like that, when you're using a Garmin watch, when you scroll through your workout data pages, you will eventually get to a map. You can add a map within your workout. So you never have to leave that app, that workout app. On Apple Watch, however, if you wanna do a workout and have a map at the same time, you have to jump between apps. You have to go to your workout app to start your run, and then if you want to see where you're going on your run and look at the map, you have to jump over to Apple Maps and open a whole different app, and then double-click the button to jump between the two apps. It's really frustrating, and I wish they would just add a data page, a full page map within the workout app. Make it a setting. I hope that's what this means. I'm not totally sure. I guess time will tell. Another thing they mentioned is that there will be turn-by-turn directions for hiking and walking during workouts on the Apple Watch. And again, they didn't explain how this is going to work, but it would be really cool to see this rolled out as well. And I hope it all works as designed and planned, because it's very exciting if it does. And finally, for you swimmers out there, this one wasn't even discussed at all. On the summary page during the WWDC event for Apple Watch OS 11, and a tiny little icon, there was a graphic for custom swimming workouts. And I know a lot of people out there have been asking for this. It looks like you're finally going to get custom workouts for swimming activities on the Apple Watch. And again, not discussed at all, so we'll have to wait and see how it all works. And with that, that is the end of this short video. And I just wanted to break everything down here as quick as possible to give you the lowdown on what happened at this year's WWDC event. If you found this video helpful or fun or entertaining, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel down below so you don't miss more videos from me in the future. Also, check out my merch store. You can get a sweet hat like this. It's a really nice hat. The link for that will be down in the description below, and also have links for the Apple Watches I've talked about in this video down there, and those links do help support this channel, but they cost nothing extra to you. Okay, while you're down there, also check out my podcast and all of my social media platforms over on Instagram and Threads and all the things. Subscribe to my podcast. Did I say that already? Okay, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.